Om Nilambujasyamalakomalangam Sita Samaropita Vamabhagam Panau Maha Sayakacharu Chapam Namami Ramam Raghuvanshanatham. Adorations to Lord Rama, whose complexion is like a blue lotus. He is very tender and delightful in appearance. Sita is seated on his left side and he is carrying a powerful bow and arrow in his hands. This is Bala Kanda, verse number 45. And we are entering into the glory of Tulsi Ramayana. As you recall, there was a great religious festivity in this sacred place, Prayag, conjunction of three great rivers. And there, two great sages come together, Yājñavalkya and Bharadvāja. And Bharadvāja sage adores Yājñavalkya and pleads that Yājñavalkya may give to him the glory, insight into the glory of Rama. With that context, he's still in the process of asking the question and requesting the sage. Yājñavalkya and Bharadvāja, they are all Vedic sages. Asvichari pragatam nijamohu harahunatha kari janaparachohu. Bharadvāja says to Yājñavalkya, I am opening my heart to you, O sage. I am bringing out my Moha. Moha term is very significant. Moha acts like mist. You go out and your eyes are perfectly normal. But when there is mist around, you do not see things. You can get your eyes affected. And you may see things that don't exist. All world experience is dominated by Moha. More highlighted form of Moha is me and mine. This is me. Your mind has accepted it. And you never ask the question, what is me? The body. But you see your body, I don't even want to describe it. Growing, changing, aging, affected by disease. And yet the mind is perfectly satisfied with the idea, I am the body. That's Moha. Similarly, I am the mind, I am the intellect, I am the ego personality. All this is Moha. Moha is more essential for Moha is ignorance, avidya. All human relations, worries and anxieties, they arise out of Moha. The scriptures also use the term Moha Janjal. Janjal is kind of a jungle. And Moha creates a tremendous jungle. So, asabichari pragatam nijamohu. I am showing the Moha of my heart, just like you go to a doctor and reveal your injury so that the doctor can heal your injury. Sage Bharadvāja as if opens his heart. And his injury is Moha, the deluded view of things. Harahunatha karijan parachohu. O sage, O Nath, O Lord, you always recognize God in the teacher. May you relieve this Moha. Free me of this Moha out of compassion. And that term is called Cho. do show in order to remove Moha. You have to understand that's the profound setup of relationship where the one who wants to do good to you, the manner in which he does good is to remove Moha and allow your mind to turn to God, Bhakti. Moha keeps you separated from God. Devotion is a movement of attenuating Moha, reducing Moha, until Moha is no longer there, until you become absolutely stripped of Moha. The state is called Nirmoha. At the popular level, Nirmoha does, for many people, doesn't have spiritual meaning. Anyone who does any act of cruelty is called, what a Nirmohi. But at profound level, that's a term most desirable for all aspirants to attain a state of nirmoha, a state where the biggest of sufferings don't create in your heart any change. Described as your heart is stronger than a rock. That's nirmoha. But the scriptures immediately point out it is ready to melt at the suffering of others, for removing their sufferings. On one side, it is like a rock. On the other side, like a gentle lotus flower. That's the nature of being nirmoha. Ramanāma kar amit prabhava, Sant Purana Upanishad gava. The spiritual effect, prabhav. Prabhav is another Sanskrit word. It has two implications. Prabhav, bhav is feeling. That which creates in you a dynamic spiritual feeling. That which hits you in a profoundly spiritual way. That's called prabhav. Or another meaning, prabha. Prabha is light. That which impacts on you by enlightening you. It brings light for you. And that's what Ramanāma, the divine name, does to human beings. Its power is twofold. It allows your sentiments to become profoundly enriched. Your sentiments turn into bhakti bhavana. And then bhakti bhavana turns into divine prem, love of God. As well as it brings illumination in your heart. Amit prabhava. Amit, mit term means measurable. Amit, immeasurable. There is no limit to this power of divine name. Santata japata sambhu abhinasi, Shiva Bhagavan Jnāna Gun Rashi, Ākar chāri jīva jagāhi, Kāśī marat parama padalahi. Lord Shiva recites the divine name Rāma, Rāma constantly. That Shiva who is the very abode of Jnāna, knowledge, gun, all the virtuous qualities. Now try to understand in the context of Hindu scriptures. Ramayana constantly emphasizes a mutual devotion between Rama and Shiva. Rama and Shiva, they are not two different entities. In the context of Ramayana, Rama is Brahman, the Absolute, and Shiva is the Ishvara. Understand what we have told you. Brahman has his magical power, Prakriti. And it is Prakriti that brings about the creation, the manifestation of the entire world process. Sattva predominating Prakriti, that becomes the basis. Brahman through Sattva predominating Prakriti plays the role of Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva. Brahma the creator, Vishnu the sustainer, Shiva the destroyer. But who is? Altogether is called Ishvara. Who is Ishvara? Ishvara is same as Brahman. The purpose of Ramayana is to direct your mind to Brahman the Absolute. And it is done in two aspects. Directing the mind to Shiva. Try to understand in a simple way. Shiva is Bhakti. Rama is Jnāna, knowledge. But in different contexts in the Ramayana, they are mutually, they adore each other mutually. Bhakti adores Jnāna, Jnāna adores Bhakti. Rāmanāma kar amit prabhava, Sant Puran Upanishad Gava. This great glory of Rama is sung by saints, Puranas and Upanishads. Upanishads are Vedas, and all extensive explanatory writings are Puranas. And then these teachings that are given to you in Upanishads in a more condensed way, and in Puranas in a more liquefied way. These teachings are brought into the life of saints and sages. So, in order to understand the glory of divine name, you should listen to the three types of songs. Gava is like song. If Upanishadic teachings, if you are sensitive to wisdom or devotion, then these teachings will bring to you that type of relaxation and a sense of ecstasy, as wonderful songs bring. Simple way to understand, the world is quite clamorous, not also glamorous. But the clamor is of many ugly vultures and crows and ravens and howlings, etc. In this clamorous world, when you happen to listen to the teachings of the scriptures, or happen to come into the association with saints and sages, it's just like you have turned away from a noisy world to a very sweet, melodious atmosphere. Ramayana brings that sweet and melodious atmosphere in a world that is constantly croaking and howling. Santat japat sambhu avenasi, Shiva Vijnana Jnana Gunarasi. Lord Shambhu, Shiva, constantly recites the name of Rama. He himself is the abode of wisdom. Ākarachāri jīva jagāhi, Kāśī marata padama padalahi. There are 4 types of jivas in this world. Human beings, egg-born, animals, birds, and all the vegetations. In other words, all the jivas. Only for masses, jivas imply human beings and animals and birds. But scriptures give you the understanding that even trees and plants and even smallest of sprouts, they are all jivas. All these jivas, if they were to die in Kāśī, they attain supreme abode. They become liberated. A statement that people interpret it as dying in a particular place in India. Kāśī, Benares, well known, sacred place. I'm trying to give you a profounder meaning. First point, when a pilgrimage center is glorified, the purpose is to tempt your mind to go to a place where satsanga becomes possible. And sages have a psychological way of approach. Certain places relate to so many stories of Rama and Krishna that those places have become so sacred that people go there and pick up even a little brick and a little shell by the river and bring to their home, put in their puja room, and they worship it for a long time. And all this is encouraged by the sages. Because ultimately all things in the world are divine. But anything that connects your mind with God is wonderful. But then comes another level. You cannot wait to be in Kāśī in order to attain liberation. And all those people who are in Kāśī, they are dying, and people are being born. Literally, they are not attaining liberation. Kabira had said that if a person is a devotee of God, he can die even in the places that are known to be extremely negative. And still he will attain liberation. So do not become too confined to places. Another term, another point to understand, Kāśī, Kāśī. Ka and Sha, the 2 root letters, they are giving you a profounder meaning. Ka relates to Kriya, relates to correct hands. All self-effort begins with your action. If you follow your self-effort with satsanga and proper spiritual guidance, your self-effort blends with grace, kripa. When it blends, you have gone into Kāśī. Ka and Sha has blended. Sha relates to Shri. It's a spiritual enrichment. If your hands go on, if your activity, if your effort goes on enhancing your virtuous qualities, if you live to amass the wealth of virtues, what's known as Daivi Sampat, what Gita also describes as Jnāna Lakshanas, Abhayam sattva sanshuddhi, fearlessness, purity of heart, humility, generosity, compassion, sincerity, absence of greed, absence of impurities. All these, as these great qualities develop, you are being showered by Mahalakshmi, the grace of Mahalakshmi. Kāśī therefore refers to Purushartha and grace blended together. If you have blended your self-effort and along with it, practice of integral yoga, and as a result, grace, then no matter where you are in Kāśī. Man changat tatvat me Ganga. If mind has become free of impurities, you don't have to think of where I should go, which sanctifying place, purifying place will strip me of my impurities. You don't have to do that. Even in your bathtub, there is Ganga flows. I'm not discouraging people to stay with bathtubs. But understand that pilgrimage center has a means to an end. The real pilgrimage center is your purity of heart. How does the jiva attain liberation having gone to Kāśī? And now comes the scriptural, mystical teaching. Whoever dies in Kāśī, the soul immediately is initiated into Rāma mantra. And as a result of that initiation, the soul has no other choice but to become liberated. So if you have put it into more understandable process, in a logical way, if you have allowed your self-effort to bring in divine qualities, you become as if initiated by God, by Ishvara. The kripa, the divine grace, allows your mind to turn towards God as a Rāma. And again, try to understand the mystical meaning of Rāma. There are two great root letters that go to form Ram. The R term, Ram, relates to Manipur chakra, the navel center. When Kuṇḍalinī passes through this center, that R term, the Ram term is awakened. The awakening of navel center removes malas, gross impurities, as well as it loosens karma granthi. You are knotted with karma. And that knot is resolved as Kuṇḍalinī passes through the navel center. The Ram, R term of Rāma, is working upon the very basis of your spiritual movement. And Ma is the culmination. It is symbolic of nectar, Amrita. And that nectar symbolizes 1,000-petaled lotus. Rāma straightens the entire Kuṇḍalinī. Kuṇḍalinī awakens that and flows on and unfolds 1,000-petaled lotus. A Ram term implies all this. Ram is a variation of Om. The Vedas in the beginning didn't have even Om. Their research brought Om to play its part. And then after Om has been so highlighted in the Upanishads. Tulsi ji found Om suggesting the mind to always attributeless, nameless, formless Brahman. And that goes against practical reality. Human mind hearing about Brahman is not so fascinated about it. Though they say Brahman is Bhuma, all bliss. But to describe Rama and how did he play his role, how did he look in the midst of his ministers, friends. In other words, describing God as saguṇa sākāra has a sweet relationship with your mind. And you can easily allow your mind to ascend higher steps when you have a good foundation. So, Tulsi ji chose Rāma. Another point you have to understand, all your mantras are Om or Ram. So there is no contradiction. Who is Rama? This is what Bharadvāja Muni asks Yājñavalkya. Please explain this to me. You are the ocean of compassion. Kripa Nidhi. You are the treasure of compassion. Ek Ram avadhesh kumara, tinkar charit vidit sansara, nari viraha dukha laheu apara, bhayau roshu ran Ramanumara. Now, to develop a profound understanding into the glory of divine name Rama, first I will give you a general outline. Focus on God has three main stages. First stage is called saguṇa sākāra. That is the foundation and well emphasized in all over India. Saguṇa sākāra, worship God as Rama, as Krishna, as Buddha, as Jesus, as a personality with name and form. That becomes easy for your mind to hold it, easy for your heart to enfold it. But as you advance, God becomes saguṇa nirākāra. All the attributes of God, He is bliss, He is compassion, He is truth, He is all that is blessed. All these attributes, they become highlighted so much that your mind doesn't think of he has a blue complexion, he wears golden yellow dress, he holds bow and arrow on his body. Saguṇa sākāra. In saguṇa sākāra, you have bodily description of God, plus divine qualities. In saguṇa nirākāra, there is no bodily description. God is all the 1,000 names. His glory is endless. And you come to third state, where God is nirguṇa nirākāra. And then you have reached the climax. God is not with form. It is given to your mind as an early stage of support. Once you have been supported by it, your mind expands through divine virtues, the divine qualities. But then you can begin to realize that even those qualities, you may say God is Satchidananda. Does it mean that you really understand it? You may say God is all powerful, but do you really understand it? How can you give a name? Even ordinary experiences, if you have eaten a delightful food somewhere in a hotel, and you don't want to share the food with your friend, but simply describe the food. No matter how best language you use, and how wonderful hearing the other person may have, the taste cannot be conveyed. Therefore, Tulsi Dasji later goes on saying, the divine name Rāma is greater than Vishnu, greater than thousands of Shiva, thousands of Vishnu, thousands of Brahma. In other words, greater than all your concepts. When you come to that level, you are in a very profound state. So that's what Bharadvāja Muni is asking Yājñavalkya, all these details. Now focusing the mind on saguṇa sākāra. Ek Rāma avadhesh kumara, tinkar charit vidit sansara. There are so many Ramas, he says. One Ram is the son of King Dasharatha. The whole world knows about the story of Rāma. Nari binaha dukha laheu apara, bhayau roshuj ran Ramanāma. Being separated from his wife, that Sita being kidnapped, he suffered intense pain. This is the visible study of Rama. And as a result of his wrath, he fought against Ravana and killed him. Is this the Rama that we worship? Yes, this is the story of Rama, but don't take it literally. Everything here is figurative. Rama is the soul. His wife Sita is viveka buddhi, discriminative knowledge. Ravana is ignorance that separates the soul from discriminative knowledge. But the potential of the soul is divine. If you awaken the divine potentiality, you are able to bring together monkeys and bears, the energy that goes in the form of your senses, mind, unconscious desires. Monkeys are your mind. Mind goes on jumping like a monkey. Senses are part of those monkeys. And the vasanas, subtle desires that arise out of your mind, unconscious, goes on sleeping there. They are the bears. Rama within you, the soul within you, has to integrate all these monkeys and bears through a process of integral yoga. As you do, Hanuman, special strength arises out of the monkey mind. Mind gets transfigured. Faith blossoms to a highest level. But all these stories are to come. So Hanuman's strength enables Rama to know where Sita is All the monkeys and bears, they bring about a bridge across the ocean. That is, your conscious mind connects itself with the unconscious. And a spiritual movement influences the unconscious, cuts down ignorance, and the entire mind-body set is dedicated, rather being governed by Sattva, Vibhishana, Ravana's brother. We don't go into details. Basic point, Rama attained. When that happens, Ravana is destroyed, your soul has attained liberation. The story of every soul in every personality is the story of Ramayana. Rama within you has to be awakened. And as you go on following, emulating the examples of Rama, his humility, his graciousness, his valor, as you go on emulating them, you are on the right path. So Ramayana provides all these. It provides the understanding of the depth of philosophy. It provides a fascinating picture of an ideal to be emulated in daily life. And it provides many more things. Prabhu soye Ram ki apar ko jahi japat tripurari satya dham sarvagya tum kahu viveku vichari. Is that the Rama? Or is there another Rama that Shiva meditates on and Shiva does his japa? Is that Rama different? Of course, at this stage, you must know both are just the same. Shiva's vision is brought into a story. Shiva, in an early stage, is wedded to Sati. Sati and Shiva, as if they are enjoying the universe in their aerial cars called Vimanas. And they see events on the earth as if from an aerial point of view. They see how Sita was kidnapped by Ravana and how Rama grieves for Sita. And even while Rama is grieving, and his grief is so bitter, Sati's heart melts for Rama. But Shiva bows his head down to Rama and says, Jai Satchidananda, ignoring all the sufferings Rama is going through. And Sati can't understand why Shiva would do that. And this puzzle is being explained throughout the Ramayana. That your enlightenment, it doesn't have a practical appearance. In the practical world, you can go through pleasure and pain. But for one who is enlightened, even his painful state has a message to give, just like Christ. His being crucified is a painful situation in the world. And yet it became symbolic of awakening spiritual potentiality. The point is that liberation is not to be viewed on the basis of appearance. One who is liberated, human mind develops the idea he will be so fascinating. The aura will be coming, bursting through the head all the time. His teeth will be all marbles or jewels. I'm joking, but the idea is that type of idea exists. But the reality is, even while living in the world, facing practical challenges, and yet you can commune with the Absolute without any restriction. That's the Ramayana. That's the purpose of all this. So Bharadvāja is asking, O Lord, is he the Rama who expressed so much suffering and pain? Or there is another Rama that Lord Shiva meditates on and is devoted to? Please explain all this to me with vivek and vichar. Jaise mitaye mora brahma bhari, kahau sakatha natha bistari, jaga balik bole musakayi, tumahi vidit pragupati prabhutayi. O Lord, tell me all this katha, the story of Rama, mystic story, so that all my delusions are destroyed. The term Brahm, from Brahm comes the term Bhranti, deluded vision. And the deluded vision is of three types: Satyatva Bhranti, Ishtatva Bhranti, Samichinatva Bhranti. Objects appear real. That's a delusion. You view the objects as real. They are not real. Because reality is that which does not change. All things that you hold and touch, they are constantly changing. Even your hand itself is going to change. Another point, all things that you are experiencing through your eyes are subject to the limitations of your eyes. And that applies to all your senses. Human senses are limited. So realities, what appear real to a human being, doesn't appear real to an animal. And that I don't have to go into details. That science has spoken a lot about it. So in brief, objects are not the reality. Next point is Tattva Bhranti. The delusion that if you were to get some object, if you could secure a certain situation, you will be completely happy. That's an illusion. You have already gone through many lives. You have got an unimaginable power, wealth, and glory. And where are you? Still struggling. So, don't fall for it. Another great illusion, samichinatva, the illusion of bringing objects of your desire close to your heart, close to yourself, even though a mother may lift the baby close to her heart. You must realize that closeness is led by karma. And that's really, there is no big closeness. And in all relations, people seem to be close together and yet they are far apart. Families live together, very close together. But in their different personalities, they have different problems. And they are far, far apart. So in other words, being close together, that itself is an illusion. Allowing the mind to be free of Bhranti, all illusions, that's what is to enlighten the mind. Strip the mind of these three illusions and you have liberation. And Bharadvāja asks all this. Jaga balik bole musakayi, tumahi vidit pragupatir prabhutayi. Says Yājñavalkya smiles. He says, you know it already. You are asking this. to create satsanga. Rāma bhagat tum mana krama bani, chaturayi tumhari main jani, chahu sunay Rāma guna gudha, kinnahi prasna manahu adhi mudha. You, Bharadvāja, you are devotee of Rāma in your mind, in your speech, and in your actions. A complete movement comes when you are straight in thought, word, and deed. When that straightening comes, you become more integrated. And that's the objective, the goal for a spiritual aspirant. That love of God should not be only in your words. In your words, good things. In your action, you are unable to express it. In your thoughts, you are moving somewhere else. If that happens, you become manthara. Later you will hear this story. A woman who has 3 bends in her body and a big hump. I know your cleverness. The term is used in a profound way. You want to hear the glory of Rāma, and that's why you are asking me as if you are a dull-witted child. Another point to describe is one should be childlike in simplicity, humility, and childlike state is the result of integral development. If you are well integrated, then what expresses through your personality is open-heartedness. Absolutely like a mother communing with a child. But also understand another point. Being shishuvat, being like child, is totally different from being childish. In Mahabharata, that childish aspect is brought out by Shishupal, who was killed by Krishna. So, the message behind it, don't be childish. Go on growing until you become childlike. Another message for spiritual listeners. Do not bring to your mind all your egoistic intelligence. Do not begin to display how much mathematics you know, how much science you know. Be humble. Be a child. Even though you think you are a big knower, in satsanga atmosphere, become a child. And learn to open your heart. Be gentle and humble. Then the satsanga atmosphere will benefit you. But you have already big knowledge about it. And your mind is already calculating, I heard this more elaborately. Then you are not enjoying, you are losing the opportunity of satsanga. Tat sunahu sadar manulai, kahau Rāma ke katha suai. O tat term is used in a very loving way. Literally it relates to, O beloved child, O beloved friend, O hey tat, listen to what I am going to say. Listen to it with devotion. I am going to relate to you the beautiful story of Rāma. Ignorance is like Mahishasur. The Puranas give you mother worship. The distracted mind is like a demon that appeared mostly like a buffalo. And that buffalo demon was destroyed by Lakshmi Devi, Mahalakshmi. Exactly, it is the role of Mahalakshmi that becomes effective in satsanga. If Rama Katha you are listening, Mahishasura will be destroyed, your distractions will be destroyed. Not only distraction, leading to further details of Devi Puja, where Devi appears as Kali and destroys a demon called Rakta Bija. A demon, if he is fought with and anyone were to shed his blood, out of every drop of blood, a demon like him emerged. And it was difficult to destroy that Rakta Bija. Everyone was completely, because in the process of destroying it, thousands and thousands of Rakta Bija began to emerge. Then the Devi created a special expression of herself, Devi as Kali. She stretched her tongue, and all the blood that fell from Rakta Bija fell on the tongue of the Devi. All these are highly mystical stories. Rakta Bija is the story of Kali. Kali is Brahmakara Vritti. Your mind having understood Brahman alone is real, it creates a special movement, and it is described like a tongue. The entire world and all that happens is on the tongue of the Devi. If it is hard to understand, try to understand just your dream. When the dream vanishes, melts away, what happens? A mystic tongue has stretched out from your waking state and lapped up all your dream, and you followed it. So, as by listening to Rama Katha, ultimately you are coming to that level of the role of Kali within you, of that intuitive function of your mind. Rama Katha sasikiran samana, Sant chakor karahi jahi pana, ऐसे ही संशय कीन भवानी, Mahadev tab kaha Bakhani. Story of Rama is like the rays of the moon. The special birds called chakor, they enjoy those rays of the moon. They become so enchanted. In the same way, all those who are spiritual, sincere sadhaks and saintly personalities, they are the chakors. And the story of Rama are like rays of nectar. And your mind is never satisfied with it. Drinks one ray, turns to another ray, turns to another ray. I'm making a joke. ऐसे ही संशय कीन भवानी, महादेव तब कहा बखानी. Bhavani, Uma, expressed her doubt about Rama. And Lord Shiva told the entire Ramayana to shed her doubt. That's the profound level of purpose of scriptures. Just like Shiva tells Uma, Krishna tells Arjuna in Mahabharata. And in Yoga Vasishtha, Vasishtha tells Rama. All scriptures have a divine guru telling the ideal aspirant. And all others, they are spies. They listen to it. They get benefited by it. I'm joking. Om Shri Ramaya Namah, Om Shri Ramaya Namah, Om Namah Shivaya. Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purname Vavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.